Morning everybody, hello and happy Saturday and welcome to the class. I hope that you had a good week, and if you exclude Friday, so I hope that you will have a good weekend, and I hope you are ready to relax and enjoy your Saturday and your Sunday. So today we will do a little English class and we will look at vocabulary in relation to the Grammys, the famous music award in the United States, the Grammys. And today we have an article in relation to the New York Times, from the New York Times, about the Grammys. So that's the focus for today. We will look at vocabulary. It's a little advanced, but at the same time it's very good, and I hope you are enjoying the classes. So this is maybe the 7th or 8th week of the free classes in the morning, and it's a very good opportunity to learn English for free. It's also a good opportunity for me to continue working, and I have been a teacher for 11 years, and now because of the pandemic everything is online, so it's a very good opportunity for me to continue working. We have the social media accounts, so on Instagram the name is @miễn, and I have some pictures from Dublin, and I have some quotations and some tips in relation to English, and there are 3 posts per day at the moment. So if you want to connect on Instagram, that is a very good idea and it's very helpful for me. Twitter has the same content more or less as Facebook, and some pictures also, and YouTube channel @miễn is possible to connect, and some people prefer YouTube compared to Facebook, so that is possible as well. They are all the social media, and today at the moment I am on Zoom, so obviously Facebook Live and Zoom, so you can continue of course on Facebook Live, and the second possibility is to connect and participate with Zoom. If you want to connect and participate, this is the meeting ID and the meeting passcode, and you can join on Zoom, and specifically if you have a question you can participate, and also to practice some speaking. It's a good opportunity to participate. So that's the plan. No news really today. Yesterday the weather was raining, and today it's windy and cold again, so I have a lot of jackets, a jumper, very cold, and that's the plan for the moment. So nothing really new. Later today we have a webinar, a specific webinar at 1 o'clock in Dublin in relation to the first certificate. So you can see the information here at 1 o'clock in Dublin. It's a specific webinar for the Cambridge first certificate exam. These exams are very popular, and if you want to join, if you want to register for this event, you can contact me by Facebook or WhatsApp, or also in the event section on Facebook you can see the details, and that's a very good idea for today if you want to participate. It's a good opportunity to learn English anyway, but there will be specific exercises in relation to the exam o'clock, and you are welcome to join. I hope we have no problem with the connection. I hope we've no problem with the Wi-Fi, with the technology, with the computer, because there are always possibilities with the technology. So hopefully there's no big problem. We have the dog in the garden, so possibly my dog will make an appearance at some point. He will be very loud, so I hope that's no big disruption, and hopefully we have family at home, so there's no big disruption or distraction, I hope. But no problem, because for you, I'm sure you are at home with people and you're working from home, so it's an interesting time, and we have to try and continue to work and to study. Okay, so this is the plan for today. We have a little introduction document, you can see. Normally I introduce the grammar a lot, but today very little, and we will focus primarily on the article from the New York Times, and if we have time we can continue to the list of phrasal verbs and idioms, and also some speaking practice as well on Zoom. If you want to participate, it's the same code on the left. Okay, so that is the plan, and now I'm going to show you the introduction document. So I will share my screen on Zoom and we can begin with this document. So when I started teaching free classes 5 or 6 or 7 weeks ago, this document for me was the most important. It was the foundation, it was the base. I explained in detail this document, so you can find this document in my previous classes. At the beginning of the videos, you can find the introduction. It is very important, extremely important, and maybe today is your first day with the class, so this document is very important. But maybe you have been to this class, you have attended this class a lot, so you are familiar with this document. So I'm just going to explain the vocabulary first, and then we will continue to the article. Also, subtitles are available for the video on Facebook Live. You can follow my conversation and my words on with subtitles. The majority of the subtitles are correct, but there are some errors with the subtitles and the captions, but still it's probably a help and a possibility to follow easier. Okay, so I hope you can understand me. We have people with different levels, and I'm sure we have lots of different abilities, so I really hope you can understand my accent and my speaking. So for me, there are 3 categories in English. When I teach, there are 3 very important areas. The first area is use of English. The second area are the tenses, and the third area is grammar in general. Okay, so you can see in yellow grammar, then we have the tenses, and we have the use of English. And as I said in my previous videos, I have explained in detail, but during my class you need to be very familiar with the concept of a phrasal verb, the concept of an idiom. I also identify pronunciation problems and pronunciation issues during the class. That's very important. And different accents around the world is a big part of English. For example, me, I have some interesting characteristics with pronunciation, and probably in Ireland we have, of course, unique pronunciation characteristics. For example, the U is very strong, the TH is very interesting, and the OU sometimes is very strong. So I will identify during the class the vocabulary and the pronunciation problems. Tenses. When we speak in English, we have different tenses, and again, you need to be familiar with the simple, present simple, past simple, future simple, present continuous, past continuous, future continuous, present perfect, past perfect, future perfect, the infinitive, conditionals, and the active and the passive. So that's a long list of tenses and vocabulary in relation to tenses, but it's your responsibility to watch the previous classes, to listen and to watch my explanations from before, because I explain a little more the concepts of the tenses. So you have to be very familiar with this idea, and you need to know in detail the significance of the present simple, the perfect, the continuous, etc. Okay, so not today. Today I will not explain this because I have done this already. And also finally, in the grammar section, you need to be very, very sure and very clear with the concept of a noun, an article, an adjective, countable noun, uncountable noun, adjective, superlative, comparative, adverb, modal verb, preposition, and it's very important, that explanation. And again, in every video before today and before yesterday, I have explained in detail more information. So I recommend that you watch the first 5 or 10 minutes of the previous videos to understand the concepts a bit clearer. Okay, also this area is very important. Possessive adjective, possessive pronoun, or object pronoun. For example, the difference between his, her, it's his, it's hers, give it to him, give it to her. That's very important. Demonstratives, this, that, these, those. So there's a lot of information, of course, in English, and this document is the foundation. This document is important. Similarly with other books and other websites, you have content pages with the most important information, and this is the same. I will post this document on the Facebook page below the live video after the class. I put this document below the video with the notes from the class, and hopefully that will help. Okay, so that's just an important document I want to introduce, I want to show. Now I want to begin immediately with the article from the New York Times. So this is the article, and the topic is related to the Grammys. And here's the Grammys you can see on the right. It's the famous music award in the United States in relation to music, and I think the Grammys will happen on Saturday. I think Sunday. They will be on the television in the United States. Also, Sunday is Mother's Day in Ireland, so of course today after the class I have to run to the city centre and go to the shop and buy some presents for my mother, because it's Mother's Day in Ireland. So if you have any advice or any tips or any suggestions, you can give me a suggestion. I am thinking chocolate and flowers, but if you have a better suggestion, you can tell me. Okay, so here I want to read the vocabulary, and I want to read first for pronunciation. This is the method and this is the technique. Normally I read for pronunciation, and after I return to analyze the vocabulary. Okay, so the Grammys ready pandemic show as the Weekend boycotts future awards. So this is a mistake. Weekend is an artist, and the spelling is different because Weekend in this case is the music artist. Okay, the event on Sunday will address the challenges of a music industry hit hard by the pandemic. The Weekend, who was snubbed, says he will boycott the awards going forward in a sign of continuing friction with the artists. Okay, so we will focus now on the vocabulary, and here a show is very typical for the theatre. You're going to a show. Yes, it's a verb to show your information, show your documents, show your details, show, but it is a noun, the show, and it's typical for the concert, it's typical for the theatre. You're going to the show. In Espanol it's como obra. Okay, so that is very important. The show is like the performance. We have another word as well, the performance or the show, and just important vocabulary to understand. We also have a phrasal verb, which is very important, to show off. So this is a little negative. So imagine I buy a new watch. Imagine my watch is maybe very, very expensive, and I'm very happy with my watch, and I want to show everybody my watch, but really in a little arrogant way. So I show off my watch. During the class I put my hand here all the time because I want to show off my watch. So it's a little negative, and it's associated maybe with arrogance, and the verb is to show off. Maybe in sport, if you are very good with sports and you show everybody how good you are, so you really enjoy being fantastic, you show off. Okay, and the noun is a show off, so that's the person. You are a show off, he is a show off, she is a show off, and very common vocabulary, very typical in fluent conversation, so very important. But in relation to the theatre, in relation to the movies, in relation to the concert, it's possible the show. So very, very important. Okay, it's possible to say the decorations are very showy, so that's a little extravagant or a little dramatic. So you imagine the house at Christmas for decorations, they're maybe over the top, excessive, so you can say over the top, which is possible OTT. It's possible to say OTT, and the top is the limit and over the top is excessive. So if the decorations are over the top, or they are excessive, or they are very showy, it's usually a little extreme and a little negative as well. Okay, we also have an expression to show your hand. So this is a metaphor in relation to poker and in relation to cards. When you play cards and you have your hand, ace, king, queen, your hand, and you show your hand, is to reveal your tactics, to reveal your assets, to reveal what you have. So to show your hand means to be honest and tell me exactly what you have, what you think. So it's a metaphor and very important as well. Boycott is very important, and I think in other languages it's probably the same. Here we have the dictionary and we have other languages, but it's a very important verb. And to boycott in Bulgarian, Arabic, Chinese, Dutch, French, German, so it's very, very similar. Italian, Malay, Japanese, Polish, Portuguese, Romanian, Spanish, okay, Vietnamese and Thai. So the only languages we are missing are Indonesian and Filipino. Okay, so to boycott is typically when you are not happy, you refuse to go to the shop, or you refuse to go to the restaurant, you refuse to be a customer, you boycott. And in this situation, the artist is not happy with the treatment, with the behavior, so he will boycott the future award. And remember, the verb is to boycott, but because it's the third person, we need the S. I boycott, you boycott, he boycotts with the S. So the third person in English in the present usually has an S added to the verb. Okay, and again, the difference between an award and reward. So yesterday we explained the difference between an award, it's a noun but also a verb. So in relation to the Grammys, in relation to the Oscars, in relation to a competition, you receive a trophy or you receive an award. Okay, but reward is more typical for children and behavior. So the child cleans the room, the child is very good in school, and the parent gives the child a reward. So there's a little difference between award and reward, and it's very important and very obvious when you make the little confusion. Okay, the preposition for the day is on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday, on Thursday. For the month, we say in January, in February, in December. In the year, we say in, so in 2020, in 2021, in 1915. So there's a difference with the preposition between the day, the month and the year. So for the day, we say on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday. Address. So here's the future simple, but the verb to address is very important and very advanced. So of course, when you have your home, you have an address. So this is my location, this is my address. Okay, because for the post, you need to put the address on the envelope. That's number one, address. But the verb is more flexible and we use to talk about. So I want today to address the topic. I want to address the situation. And the significance is I want to talk about the topic. I want to talk about the situation. Typical for the family, if the parents are not happy with the activity, with the children, the parents address the problem. So it's very flexible and it has a little different meaning from the address in terms of location. But here, the show or the event will address, so they will talk about the challenges, the difficulties. So challenge is un reto in Espanol. And again, it's a very advanced vocabulary, very advanced verb, and it's very important. A music industry hit hard by the pandemic. So the verb to hit is like golpear in Espanol. And if you are hit hard by the pandemic, you are impacted very hard. So the significance of the industry hit hard by the pandemic, it means the industry is impacted very much by the pandemic. And it's very, very good synonym, very fluent and very common. Okay. The weekend is the artist. So remember the confusion, because during the week, Monday to Friday, but today is Saturday, so we're at the weekend and there's an extra E, but this is different because it's an artist, a musician, and he's very creative and very funny, and he decided to eliminate the E. So the weekend, who, this is the relative pronoun. We have approximately three relative pronouns, who, which and that, but here who is the person. So when you have the person, you need who, because we have the verb to be, and every verb in English needs a subject. It is possible to eliminate because already we have the subject, but it's just more emphasis because you have the comma. So it's like repetition for the subject of weekend. This is the passive, because remember the structure of the passive and the active. The active, you have the subject, the verb and the object. And the passive, you change the position and you introduce an extra verb to be plus the participle. So this is the extra verb to be and this is the participle. Okay, the verb to snub is very advanced, it's very fluent, and it's very good vocabulary, and it means to ignore. So if you apply for a job, you have an interview for a job and you really want the job, but the company decide to ignore you and they decide to not reply. They are very rude and they don't tell you. So they select the other person and they just continue. So it's almost very rude. Rude is like mal educado, and the significance is to ignore. So in the context of this article, the Grammys, the award, the company, the organization ignore the artist. So the company decide to not select the artist, so they snub the artist. But it's a little negative and a little bad, and it's a little bad action and a bad feeling, and definitely negative. So his feeling, he feels he was snubbed, the passive, the verb to be, he was snubbed by the organization. Very, very good vocabulary and very important. We have another word which looks similar, but it's completely different. So a snob is a noun, and it's related to maybe similar to arrogant. So if the person thinks they are more intelligent, the person thinks they are richer than the other people, the person thinks they are better and maybe posh, pijo. So a snob is maybe somebody who thinks they are better than everybody else. So it looks similar, but it's completely different significance. A snob and a snub, and very important and very common in movies, very common in conversation, very common in a lot of situations. So it's important vocabulary. And the adjective is maybe snobby, and it's maybe associated with arrogance, a little arrogant, a little snobby. So for example, I don't want to go to this cafe because I don't like this cafe, it's very dirty, I don't think it's very good. So you feel bigger and better than the place and better than the other people, for example. So it's important vocabulary, and very, very good. But here it's very good vocabulary. Snubbed says he will, so subject, future simple, boycott, will boycott the awards going forward. So that means from now to the future he will continue to boycott and to ignore the awards. He will refuse to participate, he will refuse to interact, and going forward means in the future. It's another synonym for in the future, and it's very good and very common in conversation. So going forward, you need to wear your mask, you need to wash your hands. That's from now to the future. Okay. Friction, I think, is understandable, and most people are familiar with friction, I think, in most languages. So friction is maybe when I rub my hands, when I rub my hands together, I think frotar in Espanol, and I have friction. Okay, but it's a metaphor in relation to relationships. So if one friend has a problem with another friend, they are not happy, they are fighting, there's a lot of friction. Okay, a lot of friction, a lot of tension, and good vocabulary. Okay, here we can see the picture, and in exams, of course, it's good practice to describe the pictures, and here we can use a lot of vocabulary with the close. So in the future, it could be very good practice in webinars and in speaking practice that we can describe the pictures, because it's very important activity and very important exercise. So that is just 3 pictures, and here I will read the little caption because it is important as well. So from left, Beyonce, the Grammys most nominated artist this year. The Weeknd is in the middle. Who, so again this is the relative pronoun, so it's repetition for the subject. The verb to be was. Shut out of is a synonym of snubbed, a synonym of ignored. So to shut, of course, is the door, close the door, and of course it's a little vulgar with the person to shut your mouth or to shut up. It's very, very strong, very vulgar maybe. And to be okay, so to shut out somebody is like to ignore. So imagine you are in the party and you close the door, you shut the door, so you don't want other people to come, so the other people are shut out by you in the passive. So it's a bit difficult, but to shut somebody out means to leave somebody out, to refuse the entry, and here it's the passive because we have the verb to be and we have the participle. So that's an example of the passive, because the Grammys shut the Weeknd out, but the Weeknd was shut out by the Grammy. So that's an example of the active and the passive, and in my introduction document of the grammar, it's important I mention the explanation of the active and the passive. Whose is in relation to possession. Okay, so Taylor Swift, whose album, so in Espanol it's cuyos, and it's important in relation to possession. So the album is the possession of Taylor Swift. Okay, here she received, the past simple, 5 of her 6 nods. So this is very difficult vocabulary, but very important. The verb is to nod, and it's typical for the dog. You know, there's a famous advertisement on the television in Ireland or in England, and the dog is agreeing with the person in the conversation. So to agree in a conversation, you nod your head. So this action with your head is to nod your head. Okay, so that's the action, that's the verb to nod. We have the phrasal verb to nod off, and this means when you are very tired and you feel sleepy and your head starts to fall and you nod off. So it's very typical to nod off, has the significance to fall asleep. So during this class, I am sure a lot of people are very bored and you're watching this class and you're nodding asleep. So you're nodding off, you're falling asleep. Okay, so it's very important vocabulary. And in relation to awards or selections or the Grammys, because the company, the organization have to select. So they have the decision, they have the product, and when you give the nod, you say yes. So this artist, no. This artist, no. This artist, yes. So in that significance, this is the context here. So she received 5 of her 6 nods. It's very creative, very advanced, very fluent, but very, very normal English. Okay, so to nod off is to fall asleep. To nod your head is the action and the verb. Okay, and I think there is a cartoon character, Noddy. So let me just check, because I think there is a cartoon character, Noddy, and he is famous for, for moving his head. So it's just an example of the vocabulary. Okay. Fans, of course, is a supporter. So when music, okay, so I will read this paragraph first, and after the paragraph I will return to the vocabulary. Okay, so when music, and I'll make it a little bit bigger so everybody can see. Sorry. Okay, when music fans tune into the 63rd annual Grammy Awards on Sunday night with Trevor Noah as host and performances by nearly 24 stars including Taylor Swift, Cardi B, Dua Lipa and BTS, they will see the music world coming together in celebration and friendly competition after a grueling year. Okay, and the next paragraph, Beyonce, who has 9, who has 9 nominations, will be aiming for her first win in a major category since 2010, while Swift has 5 nominations connected to Folklore, an album made entirely in quarantine. Okay, the show will also address the pandemic's painful impact on music with an extended in memoriam segment and a spotlight on the independent venues that represent music history, but which have suffered devastating blows after a year of lost business. So 2 interesting paragraphs. The first expression is to tune into. This is a typical combination, and tune is typical for the guitar. So you play the guitar and you need to tune the guitar. Okay, so that's the first example, to tune the guitar. The second significance is to play a tune, is a synonym for a song. So you need to play a tune or you need to sing a tune. It's a synonym for a song. Okay, but the verb in relation to the radio with the frequency, you need to tune the radio. So you need to focus the radio for the frequency. So the typical situation is to tune into the station, to tune into the station for the radio, but now it's very typical for the television, because you have to join the frequency, or you have to find the frequency. So to tune into the radio, to tune into the television station, very, very common, very important, but it is typical in relation to a metaphor and we use this in class. So of course this class, you are falling asleep, you are nodding off because it's very boring, so you need to tune in to the class. So you need to focus, and it's typical in sport. When you play football, when you play sport and you lose your concentration, it's typical for the coach or the manager to say, Brian, tune in. And that means, Brian, pay attention. So it's extremely common in conversation. And here, when the fans tune into the awards on the television, so it's possible to context radio, television and concentration in class or in sports. Okay. Again, on for the day with Trevor Noah as host. So this is very important as well. The host is the person and the verb is to host. So this is typical for a party. So when you organize a party, the verb and the action is you host the people, you welcome the people, you give the people a drink, you take the jacket from the people, you are the host. So you are the person who welcomes the people. So the verb is to host, and in the aeroplane you are the air host or the air hostess. Hace falta en español. So the air host or the air hostess in feminine is the person on the aeroplane who works, giving you the drink, welcoming you onto the plane. It's the air hostess. So very important vocabulary, and typical for the television program, the person responsible for the television program to coordinate the conversation, to coordinate the people. It's possible presenter and it's possible the host. Okay, so you have a radio host, television host, and a host for a meeting, for example, or a debate. So very important. So Noah, Trevor Noah, is the host or the presenter. So it's a synonym for the host or the presenter. And in religion, I know in Spain there's a very vulgar word for similar word host, but the bread in religion hosts the spirit, it holds the spirit. So that's the same concept as well. So air hostess, to host a party, and the host of the program as well. So it's very, very common and very important. Nearly is like almost. So performances, the verb is to perform, which is rendir, and a performance is rendimiento. So performances plural. By nearly is almost. Okay, so you have nearly finished your breakfast, you have nearly finished your work, almost. So the significance of nearly is almost. Okay, 2 dozen. Okay, it's similar, I think, in Latin languages. Dozena, dozen is 12, and we have one expression in relation to dozen, very, very famous expression. So a dozen is 12, and the famous expression is 6 in one hand and half a dozen in the other hand. So do you want to go to the cinema or do you want to go to the restaurant? And I say, well, it's 6 in one, half a dozen in the other. So 50-50. Okay, very famous expression. 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Okay, 6 in one hand and half a dozen in the other. And that means it's almost 50-50. Okay, so it's equal. Very good expression, very typical, and very common expression. Okay, they will see, future simple, the world coming together. So this is the phrasal verb. The verb and the preposition come together, means to join, and it's like solidarity. So people come together, and that's the significance here. In celebration, so in is a bit confusing here, and it's typical with the noun. So in, of course, the verb is to celebrate, so coming together to celebrate, but it's possible coming together in celebration. We have other structures as well, in support, in defense. So there are typical structures in defense, in my defense, in your defense, in his defense, in support of, and in celebration of. So it's a typical structure, and it's just important for sure to be familiar and to be aware and to recognize the construction. Okay, friendly competition after a grueling year. So very, very good vocabulary. Grueling is very, very hard, very, very difficult. For example, the exercise, the fitness, the exercise in the gym is grueling. It's very, very difficult, almost torture. It's extremely intense. So obviously difficult, hard, but grueling is more intense. Okay, so it's very, very testing, very difficult, very challenging year. Okay, similar pronunciation to drool, which is completely different. So to drool is when you see some food. For example, I look at some chocolate and I really want the chocolate. I desire the chocolate. So I'm so I really, really want the chocolate so much, my mouth begins to drool. So when you lose the water in your mouth because you're so attracted to the chocolate, that's the possible verb to drool. And it's good vocabulary and it's common in conversation. But the pronunciation is similar, except the G, gruel, okay, and grueling. But good vocabulary. Okay, here we have the verb to aim, and it's very common in English to aim. It's typical with the pistol. When you have the gun or the pistol, you aim. Okay, it's like enfocar, but it's typical in life. This is the noun. This is your aim. This is your objective. This is your goal. Okay, your aim, your objective, and your goal. Okay, but the verb is to aim, and it's typical with the preposition aim for. And of course, in your life, you can aim for the stars, aim for the clouds. And in sport you aim for the goal, and it's possible aim at. So specifically focus, you aim at or aim for. So very, very good vocabulary. You are probably familiar with the word, and it's possible as well aimless is maybe a word to describe a person with no focus or no objective. It's not good to have no aims. So if you are aimless, you have no goals, you have no objective, you're very sad and aimless as possible as well. Okay, just a pronunciation, major, just important pronunciation with the J, major. Since, so again the difference between since and from. Generally, since is one moment in the past, since 8 o'clock, since last year, since yesterday, okay, but from is usually two possibilities. From 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock, from yesterday until today. So that's the basic difference between since and from, and it's very important, the difference. And here it's since 2010, which is one moment in the past. Okay, connected to, that's the typical preposition. You are connected to Spain, you are connected to Peru, you are connected to Bolivia, you are connected to Romania. That's the typical preposition, connect to. On the telephone, I want to connect to my friend, connect to my cousin. So good vocabulary. Okay, entirely. So the album made entirely in quarantine. So entirely is the adverb, because the adverb in English normally has ly, quickly, slowly, rapidly, happily, adverb, and the function of the adverb is to describe the verb. And the verb here is make, and it means entirely. So the function of the verb is, the function of the adverb is to describe the verb. Okay, and entirely means completely or totally. So for example, you work, adjective, the entire day, you work all day. Okay, so it is an adjective, the entire day, which is important adjective, and the day is the noun. So this means all the day. Okay, every part of the day, the entire week, the entire year. And entirely is the adverb for completely or totally. You are entirely happy, you are entirely tired. So just important vocabulary, and you need to be familiar. Okay, again, address is like discuss or talk about the pandemics, and this is possession. So it's the impact of the pandemic, and for possession we have the apostrophe S. For example, the pen of Brian is better written as Brian's pen. Okay, so that's very important in English. Brian's pen is the significance of the pen of Brian. Okay, but in English it's more common, the first structure, definitely more common, this structure, possession. Very, very important. Painful is the adjective. So pain is the noun. You have a lot of pain, there is a lot of pain, and the adjective is painful. Okay, it's possible painless. So again, the study of the prefix and the suffix is very important, and here we have the suffix full which is a typical suffix for an adjective. For example, eventful, painful, dreadful. We have a lot of words with the suffix ful, and that's typical for the adjective. Okay. Impact is typical with the preposition on. What is the impact on music? What is the impact on you? So the typical connection with impact is on. What is the damage on you? What is the impact? First, a segment I think is very understandable. It's typical with fruit. Do you want a segment of orange? A segment is like a piece or a portion. Okay, good vocabulary. Spotlight is very, very good vocabulary. So remember, a spot. Yesterday we explained the significance of spot on your face. You can have a spot in the location on the map. You look on the map, this is a good spot, it's a good location. If I eat my soup and I make a mess, I have a spot on my t-shirt. But the spotlight is in relation to the theatre, in relation to the stage scenario, the stage. You have the celebrity or you have the actor, and the spotlight is the one light that focuses on the actor. So the room is very dark, the theatre is very dark, and the actor is under the spotlight or in the spotlight. And the significance is a metaphor that everybody is focusing, everybody is looking, everybody is paying attention. So if you are in the spotlight, the significance is everybody is watching what you do, everybody is focusing on your behavior. So here it's a noun because we have the article a spotlight on the independent. Venue is very important vocabulary as well. So the venue is the location for the activity, the location for the sport, the location for the concert. So Beyonce comes to Dublin and she plays in Croke Park. Croke Park is the venue, Aviva Stadium is the venue is the location. You have a party with your friends and the venue is the restaurant, the place. So very important vocabulary. Again, the difference between history and story. So every day I explain the difference between history and story. It's very important because the error is very frequent and it is really common. So the story is typical from the weekend. After your weekend, you meet your friends and you have a story from the weekend to tell your friends. But history is more the subject in school. So you study history, you study the topic and the country, the history of Ireland, the history of Holland, the history of United States. It's different between story in terms of the use, and it's just important that you pay attention and you recognize the difference. Okay. Suffer, good vocabulary. I think majority of people understand. Devastating blows is very good. Okay, so to devastate is the verb and it means to completely ruin or to completely destroy. So if you devastate your chances, it's to destroy or to ruin, but it's more typical in the adjective. Very, very typical in the adjective. If you are devastated, you're very, very upset, you're very sad, you're very angry, you are broken. So you receive bad news and you are devastated. You are not accepted to college. You are devastated. You're really, really sad and really upset. So very important vocabulary. And here a blow. So of course the verb is to blow. For example, the food is very hot and you want to blow the food, number one. And it's also in relation to an impact. So the pandemic is a big blow for me. It's a big impact for us. Okay, it's a big impact, a big hit. So here it's a noun. Devastating blows has a synonym for impact, and it's typical in boxing. So if you're boxing and you receive a blow, that means you receive an impact or you receive a hit. So very, very good vocabulary. And also it's possible to blow your opportunity, which means to waste your opportunity. So don't blow it has the significance, don't waste your opportunity. Okay, and that's it. So that's 2 or 3 paragraphs of analysis of vocabulary. Very, very good analysis of vocabulary. You can see the adjectives, the nouns, the verbs, the phrasal verbs, modal verbs, prepositions, past perfect, present perfect, a lot of technical vocabulary. And again, The technical vocabulary is from the introduction document. So I recommend that you watch this video, the previous videos of the classes, because at the beginning I explain in detail every morning for the last 2 months. I have explained in detail the technical vocabulary, and that is important for you to be familiar with and to be aware. Now is a good opportunity if you want to participate, if you want to practice some speaking. This is the code for the Zoom meeting. You can connect by Zoom and we can practice some conversation. And if you have a particular question, you can ask a question in relation to English, or you can give your comment or your feedback. I think in Zoom we have nobody at the moment, so I'll just continue with the chat because I want to keep the meeting active, and you are welcome to join the meeting and to participate. Remember, this is the code. Also today, again, we have a webinar, a specific webinar in 1 hour at 1 o'clock in Ireland. We have a specific webinar in relation to the first certificate in English, which is level B2, and we will focus specifically on the exercises from the exam. We will try to understand every part of the exam, and it's a very good webinar if you want to improve your vocabulary, if you want to practice your speaking, and if you want to be familiar with the structure of this exam. These exams are very important for a lot of people. If you want to put the certificate on your CV, if you want to enter university, there's lots of reasons why these certificates are very important. And in Spain, to be a civil servant, to work in the government, I think it's very attractive to have certificates. So this is a very popular exam, and today at 1 o'clock on Zoom we have a specific webinar dedicated to this exam. And if you want to join, please contact me and register and confirm your place. There's a small fee, very small, of €2.90, and it's approximately 1 hour, and that is the plan for today. Also, everything is free, so the classes are free. I'm very happy to continue teaching English in the mornings for a small class, and I hope you are benefiting. I hope you are learning a little every day, Monday to Saturday at 11:15. It's a good opportunity for me, but if you can support me, it would be a big help. So if you can make a small donation of maybe €1, €2, or if you're in England, maybe £1, or in Romania or in different locations, a small fee would be a very big help for me. Thank you to everybody who has supported me already with the donations. It's a big help for me, and it allows me to continue working in this way, so I appreciate it. But if you want to make a donation, it's possible in Spain with Bizum, the application. You need a telephone number. In Ireland or in other countries we have Revolut, which is very popular, and you just need a telephone number. And also the bank transfer is an option if you want to send money directly by bank. There are the details at the bottom, the IBAN and the BIC. And finally, on PayPal is the second option as well. So I see this is exactly what happened before. So now I have to start a new meeting, and sometimes when Zoom is not active you lose the connection. So 1 moment and it will start again. And that's the information for the transfer. So if you want to make a small donation, it's possible. So we're starting a new meeting. So this means we have a new code for Zoom. So if you want to join the meeting, I will put the code here. So the invite is specifically here. I'm going to try and copy the invitation and put it on my Microsoft Word, because sometimes this happens in Zoom, you lose the connection. So there is a new code. If now you want to participate, you can see the meeting ID is here and the passcode is there. So that's a possibility if you want to participate now. But remember, again, today we have a webinar specific at 1 o'clock, and I don't think we have anybody connecting at the moment to the class, so maybe it's a good opportunity to finish. So finally, we have the social media, and you can connect on Instagram. if you want to follow some pictures, and I put some little tips and little advice in relation to English on Instagram. Also, Twitter has the same content more or less as the Facebook page, and on YouTube I put the free classes directly on YouTube after the class. So there are 3 possibilities on social media, and the name on Instagram is @inglés. And again, you are welcome to join the meeting on Zoom. If you want to ask a question now, here is the code, and I don't think we have anybody at the moment. Just to double check the participants. No. Okay, so thank you very much everybody for today. I hope that you have a very good Saturday, and congratulations, it has been a very good week. We had classes every morning, and finally you can relax now. It's the weekend, and enjoy your Saturday, and hopefully I will see you on Monday. And again, if you have any comments, you can ask me a question, and hopefully you can stay connected on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and Twitter. So okay, so just before we finish, perfect, maybe Miguel would like to practice some speaking. This could be a good opportunity for everybody, and hopefully Miguel can hear us. So hello Miguel. I think we're waiting for his microphone, so hopefully he is connecting. And again, this could be a very good practice for everybody. So we'll have just a little introduction and a little conversation. No, we've lost Miguel. That's a pity. Okay, no problem. So again, thank you very much everybody. I hope that you have a great day, and enjoy your weekend. Talk to you soon.